Three, two, one, roll the footage. Welcome back, everybody, to the Strategy Sprints podcast. I'm your host, Simon Severino, and my guest today has helped thousands of entrepreneurs succeed in their business by doing outsourcing in a different way. He created and runs onlinejobs.ph, the largest website for finding Filipino virtual workers. He works about 17 hours per week, choosing to spend his time with his family rather than working. Welcome, everybody, John Jonas.
Hey, thanks for having me.
It is so cool to have you here, and it is so relevant what we're going to talk about: systemizing, outsourcing, and regaining your life back.
It's such a big deal. It's such a topic, and then nobody actually does it, but it is possible.
You have family, you run a business, and you can run a thriving global business with 17 hours per week. We have to share every detail of this.
Okay, yeah, let's do it.
And I am in your game also because I also run a business that is over many countries. I have 2 kids, and I was, of course, working 80 hours in the first year, but now I am in year 4, and I have outsourced 48 hours per week of that. So now I do only 20 or 30, but we also have to talk. I fill up the rest with stuff, but I could do also just 20.
So you've outsourced that stuff like through my systems, like to the Philippines, hiring Filipino
I don't
VAs.
know your systems yet. I will share how I did it, where I started.
Great.
But yes, it's remote colleagues, contractors in other countries. Yes.
Awesome. Great.
Definitely.
Good for you.
And we have to share this because it is not just, it was maybe 5 years ago, it was a cool thing to be like Tim Ferriss. Now it's vital.
Yeah, I mean, with COVID and the way the world's going, like you got to figure out some new stuff. It's pretty important.
We have greetings from London, so we have people listening in, and ask your questions, people. We are here to serve. So yes, tell us, how did you start your own business, and what did you outsource first? So
just so you know, I have 5 kids. They're like one of them's in first grade and one of them's a senior right now. So I have like the whole range. We love to ride our bikes. We love to ski. We love to run. I do something every day outside with my family. And that's what I do instead of working. I have worked about 17 hours a week since 2008, 2009. And I run a very good almost 8-figure business. We might hit 8 figures this year. When I started outsourcing, I was running affiliate websites. Like, this is 2005. I had some websites where I had affiliate stuff on them, and I was driving traffic to them and doing SEO and pay-per-click and all the things that you hear that you should be doing. I was doing it back then. You should be doing them today. And it was just like you, I was working 60, 70 hours a week. And it was like, man, I got into this internet business so I didn't have to work so much. And I didn't know, like, this is crazy. And I finally got a tip. I tried outsourcing a number of different ways. I tried Upwork. Actually, I tried Elance. It's now Upwork. I tried hiring contract workers or per project stuff. I tried hiring people in India. I tried all kinds of stuff, and it just wasn't working. And I got this tip from someone who's really, really good. He said, when you're ready to start outsourcing some of this stuff, make sure you go to the Philippines with it. And I was like that, really? He was like, yes. And he gave me a reason why. And he gave me a reference to where I could hire someone in the Philippines. And it kind of gave me hope that maybe I'd find something different than what I had experienced before. Because I had no idea. Like, outsourcing is outsourcing. It sucks. It's a headache, whatever. And I thought, maybe there's something different. And I didn't do it at first because I was unsure. I just didn't know if I could find good people, or if they could do good work, or if I could keep them busy, or if I could afford it, all that stuff, all the same issues that people go through now that people listening to this are like, oh, I don't know. I went through that too. And I finally just decided it doesn't matter if they can do great work or not. I can't keep doing what I'm doing. Something has to change. And I took the leap and I hired this guy in the Philippines through an agency. I was paying them $750 a month and they were paying him $250 a month. I didn't know that when this happened, but it was the most liberating experience of my life. All of a sudden I had this guy whose full-time job was to do anything I asked him to do, anything I was willing to teach him to do. And after a couple months of that, I realized dude, there's two of me now. I'm doing work that I wanted to be doing, but I wasn't doing because I was doing all this dumb work. And now he's doing all that work for me and I'm doing better, higher level work. And I hired someone else and they started taking off some of the other stuff that I was doing. And I was doing higher level work. And finally I got to the point where I was making sales, which is one of the upper level things that you can do as an entrepreneur. You have to make sales. That's part of it. Right. And I had given all the rest of the work to these two guys in the Philippines, and it really just changed my vision on how things could work and what I could do and what I could accomplish and my ability to get work done. And finally there was enough time in the day because, there wasn't before. And that was all 2005, 2006, 2007. And I started teaching it a little bit because people wanted to know. People kept asking me hey, how are you doing this? Why is this working so well? What, so I started teaching it and that kind of exploded. And finally I was there's a better way to find people, I think, because I wanted to recruit someone. I went to this agency and they said, well, do you want a webmaster or a programmer? I was I don't want a webmaster or a programmer. I want a content writer. Well, do you want a webmaster or a programmer? That was the only option, And finally I just said, I think I could do something different. I think I could create a job board for the Philippines and maybe get a couple hundred profiles in it so that I could recruit someone myself, because that's what I wanted. And then I didn't have to pay this 3 times markup, which through an agency today, you're going to pay that 3 times markup. It's going to be you're going to pay them $2,000 a month, and they're going to pay that worker $600 a month, something like that. And so I went back to them and said, I want a programmer. And I hired a programmer and had him build onlinejobs.ph and put it out there. And in the first month, we had a couple hundred profiles, and it was amazing. And I recruited someone, and then last year we passed 1 million profiles, and it's still just growing like crazy. It exploded, and that's kind of the story.
Quick check from the questions that we are getting in. Paul Hardiwar, can you give 3 tips on how to quality assure the outsourced work, please?
Yeah, so there's a couple things. Here's a couple thoughts of mine. So number 1 is go to the Philippines. I mean, it's a different experience than anywhere else in the world. And it's not that you can't find good people elsewhere. You're just more likely to find it in the Philippines. Number 2 is rather than hire contract work. So this is a big difference. People often want low commitment. So they're either going to hire someone on a per project basis, because then you don't pay them until they're done. And that's how Upwork often works like that, or Fiverr. You want contract work. And that's fine. But as a small business owner, it takes the same amount of effort to hire someone full-time long-term as it does to hire a contract worker. Someone who's going to do a project and then they're gone. And then if you find out later that the work wasn't great, you have no recourse. As opposed to if you hire someone that works for you, either part-time or full-time, but long-term, if the work wasn't great, you have a recourse, fix it. You tell them to fix it. And the whole point here isn't just to get good work. The point is to allow yourself a little bit more freedom, some time freedom, and some mental freedom, because if you have to go back and recruit someone else to fix the work, it's so painful. As opposed to hiring someone that's there long term, and if work isn't right, then you can have them fix it. So that's number two. The third thing is follow a process in your recruiting. Like I get people that go on and just go willy-nilly. Like, I contacted someone and they didn't respond. Why? What? This sucks. Like, well, that's kind of not how this works. Like, you don't just contact one person and decide this is the person I'm going to hire. Maybe they already have a job and they're not even looking for work right now, or they're not interested in your job, or, like it doesn't often work to just contact someone. So if you can follow a system, like a good recruiting process, that if you do the recruiting process well, and I could cover my recruiting process if you want. If you do a recruiting process well, it's pretty easy to find good work, like up front. You don't have to kiss a bunch of frogs. You don't have to go through a bunch of bad BAs before you find a good one.
What's your recruiting process?
Okay, so let me preface this by saying, I realized a while ago, everybody wants to know the recruiting process, right? And so I started writing it out like a year ago, and it came out as 38 pages, single spaced. And so I finally decided I need to put this together into a package. So my full detailed everything is available at onevaoa.com. And it's $49, but it's 100% money back guarantee. If you don't find someone great, I'll give you your money back. So in like 5 minutes now, I'll cover my recruiting process and give you the overview of it. So the first thing is decide who you're going to hire, and hopefully that person is doing something that you know how to do. That's step one, is find something that you know how to do that you could teach someone else. Everybody wants to hire someone to do something they don't know how to do, and that's fine. You can do it. But if you're already working 50 or 60 hours a week and you go and hire someone to do something that you don't know how to do, you're now working 55 or 65 hours a week, and you're not managing that person super well, and you're not doing what you were previously doing very well either, right? So I've just found this over the years, and with thousands and thousands of people, it's way more effective if you will find something that you know how to do, that you can teach someone else to do. And hopefully it's something that you're doing and something you don't like doing. That's the best case scenario. Because then like, oh, I'm doing this writing stuff and I hate doing this. I'm doing social media and I hate doing this. I'm doing whatever it is, right? I'm doing this lead generation stuff and I hate doing it. So when you go to post your job, you know what skills you're looking for, right? So step number 2 is to go into onlinejobs.ph and search your skills and look at some profiles. I want you to look at like 20 profiles of people, and you're going to get a really good idea of a number of things. One, you're going to get a good idea of how much people are asking to make. So you'll get a really good idea of salary. Number 2, you're going to get a good idea of what skills exist out there. Like, can I get multiple skills in the same person, or can I only find one skill, or maybe there's something else that I'm not recognizing that I need, that a whole bunch of people have this skill, right? So then step 3 is to go and post your job. You have a really good idea of the things you're going to post, of salary, of what your job post is, your job title. You've looked at a whole bunch of people. Post your job, and then you're going to start getting applications in. When you start getting applications, and just so you know, on onlinejobs.ph, you can also contact people. Like if you look at their resume or their profile, you can contact people. In order to contact them, you have to pay. And in order to respond to their job applications, you have to pay. It's $69 to be able to respond to people or to contact people, right? So you can post your job and you can get the applications just to see, like, are there relevant people interested in my job? So if you're going to contact people, don't just contact 1 or 2. It doesn't work like that. You got to contact like 20 or 30, or get job applications from a job post. So step 4 is, now you have a whole bunch of applications. Step 4 is to interview them. And the first thing to do is not jump to a Skype interview. That's a giant mistake that people make. I could get into the details. I don't feel like we'll have time for that.
Sure, we
But
have time. These details are so important.
so in the Philippines, they're a very pleasing culture. Like they want to make you happy. It's just part of their culture, and they're so dang good at it. But there's a caveat: if they feel like they're gonna let you down, or you're gonna be disappointed in them, or they're gonna be embarrassed, they don't want to do it. And the Skype interview is one of those things where they're worried that you're not going to understand them. They know they're going to understand you because they watch American TV, they watch American movies. They know they're going to understand you, but if they feel like that maybe you'll be disappointed in their English or something like that, then they're likely to not show up. And here's, I mean, you can try this, you can do it. Here's what'll happen. You try and schedule 10 Skype interviews with 10 good candidates. 5 of them won't schedule with you. So you lost 5 good candidates for a job that doesn't require them to be doing phone calls, right? Most jobs don't require people to be doing phone calls. Of the other 5 of them will schedule with you. Of those 5, 3 of them won't show up for the interview. And so you're sitting waiting for them to show up, and you're frustrated and they don't show up, and 2 of them will. And those 2 who showed up were just the 2 most confident in doing a Skype interview. It doesn't mean they're the 2 best candidates for the job. So if you're going to do a Skype interview, do it at the end of the recruiting process. And the whole deal here is about trust. So we often go into this thinking, I don't know if I can trust this person. When they're thinking the same thing, but their feeling of this, I don't know if I can trust this boss, is even more intense than your feeling of not trusting them. And it's more risky for them. Like the Philippines is a third world country. They don't call it a third world. They call it an emerging economy. But like they're trusting you basically with their life if you hire them. Mm-hmm. Like if they do a bunch of work and you don't pay them, they're not going to eat. And that's a big deal. And so the way to solve this problem of trust, you have to gain their trust. And part of that, in the interview process, if you gain their trust before you do the Skype interview, they're way more likely to show up to the interview. Plus, nobody likes doing recruiting because it takes time. And there's a better way than just jumping on Skype interviews, which take 20 minutes, as opposed to just sending an email and starting to weed people out via email, and which takes 1 minute. So my recruiting process is I will start sending emails to everybody who responds, at least everybody who followed directions in the job post. And I send an email with 2, 3, 4 questions. And I'll probably send that same email to every single person. And then I'm looking at responses. So I'm looking for a number of things. How quickly did you respond? Does it take you, do you respond each day, or does it take you 3 days to respond? Because after I hire you, if it takes you 3 days to respond, that doesn't really work for me, right? I'm looking at your attention to detail. If I ask 4 questions, you only answer 3 of them. Well, like if I give you, what are the chances of if I give you 4 tasks, you're only going to do 3 of them afterwards? Like that doesn't work for me. I'm looking at their English, like how is their command of English? Now, obviously for some positions, it just doesn't matter. Like for a technical person, for a programmer, for a designer, for an editor, like their English isn't going to, a video editor, English doesn't really matter there, right? But for most other things, English matters. And I get a good look at how are you responding to my emails versus what's your profile like. Like it's reasonable to have your friend help you write your profile. It's not reasonable to have your friend respond to 10 emails over 10 days, right? So with that, you'll find that like half the people will drop themselves out. Another 30%, you'll drop them out. And you're left with a good recruiting pool. So step 5 would be to do the Skype interview after you've done a bunch of email and you've gotten a good idea. You can also do a test here. Like if you're going to test people, now's the time to give them a test. And then step 6 would be to negotiate. So you have a really good idea of who you want to hire. You probably narrowed it down to 2 people, 1 or 2 people. You're going to negotiate salary. You're going to negotiate like hours that they're going to work. Just so you know, I don't require any specific hours of my people other than in customer support, because we want to cover 24/7 shifts. So they're working specific hours. Other than that, I just let them get their work done whenever they want to get their work done. You can negotiate like paid time off, which I don't give any specific amount of paid time off. I tell people you can have whatever paid time off you want. I just want to know ahead of time. And I've never had someone take advantage of it. And then once you've negotiated, you'll figure out it'll be obvious who to hire, hopefully. And then step 7 is hire, give them a job. So often people will be like, oh, I want to start you for a month, and I want you to do these 6 tasks, and then I'll see if I want to hire you. And like I said before, they're hesitant to do work because they're scared of not getting paid. So offer them a job. And what I recommend is you pay them weekly for the first couple months, just so that they're not out, like they're not doing a full month of work and not getting paid, because that's so dang risky for them. So pay them weekly. And after a couple of months, you can start paying them monthly or twice a month or something like that. Just work to gain their trust. And that's a big deal. And if you gain their trust, they will do so many things to try and make you happy.
And we are talking a contract here, a monthly contract that is paid weekly, or are we talking payroll?
So for me, it's payroll. Like, I agree with them that I'm going to pay you $600 per month for full-time work. Like, I want you to work 40 hours a week. I don't care when you do it. I'm going to pay you this amount, regardless of what you do, like regardless of your work output. Now, obviously, if your work output is low, I'm going to say something, like, hey, what's going on here? This seems like you're doing 6 hours per week of work. Well, why? I'll say something. And usually there's a reason, like, oh, I don't understand your instructions, or it's so hot in the Philippines right now. It's just really hard to do this tedious, monotonous work over and over again. I need to go to an internet cafe or something. You'll get, like, they'll be pretty honest with you. That's one of the great things about the Philippines and them working for foreign bosses. They'll be pretty dang honest with you. So that's a big deal. So you can hire someone hourly. It's reasonable. Just be aware that hourly work in the Philippines is almost always associated with part-time work. So if you're paying someone hourly, they're probably looking for a job somewhere else. And if you can keep them working just for you, that's a big deal. Like, if you're their number one priority full-time, it's a lot better than being their second priority. The other side of that is that most people don't ever think about, but this is for the entrepreneurs. So when I got started, I thought, oh man, like, this commitment of paying them full time, like paying $750 a month is such a commitment. I just want to pay them hourly. And if they're not working, then I'm not on the hook. Right. Because that lets me be lazy. Right. Which is what I wanted, because that sounds so much better to not have a commitment. What I found almost instantly was, oh, I didn't give him enough work to do. I better figure out something for him to do. And it was the first time ever I was able to work on my business, not in my business. And I was forced to work on my business because I had hired him full time. And to me, that's one of the best things an entrepreneur can do, is force yourself to work on your business. Because if you do, your business will start to change. I so often see people hire hourly, and when that person's not busy, you don't give a crap. Like, who cares? It's not on me to fill their time. So it doesn't really matter. Where if you agree to pay them a salary, it is on you, and you've made a commitment, and that commitment is to them, and it's a commitment to yourself. You're committing to yourself that you're going to build your business. You're going to work on it, and you're committing to them that you're going to take care of them. And it's amazing what you'll see yourself do and your business do when you make that commitment.
This is so important. Work on your business, not just in the business. And many entrepreneurs, they think it's much harder. So I'm so happy that you are here and you have all this experience and you walk us really nitty-gritty through the things, because then the listeners will go, oh, that's much more actionable than I thought. I just need to follow this process. Do you teach these processes? How can people get help from you?
Yeah, so at onevaoa.com, I teach the process, and it's like in detail. It's walk you through. Here's what you should be thinking at this point. Here's what I look at when I look at a profile. Here's some tips for posting. Like, I got some tips for posting a job that'll weed out half the people right up front. Like, you'll never even look at their applications because you'll know up front. or like, here are the questions I ask in the interview process. I teach all that at onevaoa.com. If you're interested in more of like an overview of virtual assistants in the Philippines and like lifestyle change, then I wrote a book about this, and it covers like managing and paying and firing and bonuses and stuff like that. It's titled The Outsourcing Lever, and it's available at outsourcinglever.com for free. It's like I bought 1,000 copies of it, and I'm giving it away for free if you'll pay shipping for me to ship it to you. So outsourcinglever.com.
Cool. And if we are a starter, and let's say we are a small company, solopreneur, but they are growing in 7 figures, let's say they do now 500,000, they need to outsource staff. And now they say, okay, where do I start? What are typical starting outsourcing tasks?
Yeah, so start here is at onevaoa.com. That's like it. You will be so, if you go through that process, you'll be so comfortable. You'll know, like, oh, I get it. I know who I should hire. I know what skills I should be looking for. I know how to hire this person. I know how to get them started. onevaoa.com.
Okay. What was the one that you started with? I remember I started with first having as you said, the things that I hate. First, the bookkeeping. Then I went through all financials, also invoicing, P&L. Then I went to email because I was getting 400 emails per day. Then I went to client onboarding system, payment system, and fulfillment. What were the first one that you did outsource with your business?
So when I started, that wasn't an option. Like it wasn't an option to find those people because you couldn't find them. Today, you can start with any of that stuff. It's so easy to find them on onlinejobs.ph. When I started, I could hire a webmaster or a programmer, right? That was it. Like they said, do you want a webmaster or a programmer? And so I was like, well, I want someone to write content for me. So I'll take a webmaster because that's more likely to do what I want. And then I taught them to write articles the way that I was doing it because I hated it. I hated writing the articles. And so I taught them to write the articles. And then I taught them to submit the articles, and I taught them how to do SEO with the articles, and I taught them how to do linking and resource boxes, and I taught them how to build websites. He wasn't really a webmaster. They just called a webmaster anybody they could pull off the street. And they gave him a little bit of training. So that was where I started. And that's why I say, like, find someone to do something that you know how to do. It was so dang good for me to, like you said, doing the things that you don't like to do. And all the things that you mentioned are totally reasonable. Like bookkeeping is so reasonable to hire, or lead generation is so easy, or back-end fulfillment or customer support. They're so easy to hire for.
Lead generation. Let's talk about that. Many people don't know what is lead generation. How can I do it if I'm in the US or in London? How can I let somebody on the Philippines do lead gen for me?
So I don't know your business, but I'll tell you some of the things that we do. So I have someone in the Philippines. So just so you know, I don't call them virtual assistants. I don't like the term VA because they're not, like, people think of VA as a secretary, and they're not. I'm not hiring secretaries here. I call them online Filipino specialists because they're dang good at stuff, right? So I have a girl who every day she participates in forums that are relevant to my industry. And she participates as me. So like there are paid forums that I'm invited to that people want me to participate in, and she participates as me. Or like Facebook groups, she posts because I don't want to do that stuff. And every once in a while, as she posts, when it's relevant, she'll link to onlinejobs.ph or to onevaoa.com. That's generating leads, right? I have another girl that she looks for people that are doing things that could use what we do. And when she finds someone online, like making a post about outsourcing, something like that, she'll contact them and say, hey, would you be interested in using onlinejobs.ph? And hey, let's see if we can help you. Like, here's one VA away is relevant, right? So she's generating leads for us, or she also looks for influencers. So people have an audience, and she'll contact them and say, hey, how can we work together? And it works super well for us. I have a girl whose full-time job is she runs Facebook ads for me. And so, I mean, there's a lot of lead generation going on with our Facebook ads. I have people that do SEO. I have someone who builds ClickFunnels sites for me. So from there, I have someone else that does social media for me. Like, I don't want to touch Facebook or Instagram ever. So I have someone that makes social media posts for me. So I have whole systems in place at this point. When I started, I had one person, but now for lead generation, like, I design a funnel. I have someone that builds it for me. I have someone that creates social media content for me. I have someone that runs Facebook ads for me. I have someone posting in forums for me. I have SEO done for it. All that stuff, is all generating leads coming into the business.
Beautiful. I'm so curious to hear even more about your wisdom and your process after one word from our sponsors.
Hey, if you love what you are hearing, you will love our free masterclasses. Go grab them at strategysprints.com.
By the way, this sponsor, Michelle, is one of the best colleagues that I ever had in the last 25 years of my career. And she is on the Philippines. Yeah. And we work 50 hours together every week. Wonderful.
Yeah, it's interesting. So, like, her accent is just slight. There's just a slight accent, but her English is perfect, right? Sure. And that's so common with the Philippines. Their English is perfect. Yeah, it's so good.
Absolutely. And I think we have covered a lot of ground in terms of the technical and the nitty-gritty, and everything else, people just go on John Jonas' website and really get it from there. There is everything, the checklist, where to start, and really what to click. Now I'm curious. So we have outsourced stuff. You have just 17 hours of work, because what happened now with me, I could be done with 20 hours and then play with my kids. But then, I find the new higher leverage possibility. Like, I could do more joint ventures. I could be on more podcasts. I could be on bigger stages. I could write a book. I started writing a book because I had so much time. So how do you deal with that?
So I did that. I mean, I started doing this in 2005. In 2008, I was forced into the 4-hour work week, which was amazing. And I tell that story elsewhere, but that was where I realized, like, oh my gosh, these people in the Philippines really are good, and they can, if I teach them right, they can run my business for me. So up until that point, every time I had like gotten something off of my plate and lowered my time, I would just take on something else. And at that point, when I was forced to not take on something else, was when I started realizing, oh, I could spend this time with my kids. And to me, that's the best time that can be spent, is building relationships, especially with your family. So many of us ignore that relationship and just endlessly want more, and so I love what I do. I mean, it is so fulfilling to see people succeed in their businesses because they got the help that they needed. It's so fulfilling to have people in the Philippines. I get emails every single day from employers and from workers saying, thank you so much, this changed my life. But in the end, I like riding my bike more than the work. I like skiing more than the work, And so at some point I just started making the choice to say, I need to exercise every day, and I'm not going to get up at 5 a.m. to do that. I'm going to do that at 9 a.m. And then there was just less time to get the rest of the work done. And then we started doing more. Like, oh, let's ride our bikes for 4 hours today. Let's ski 4 times this week. And there is more to that. One of the big things that I feel like people need to learn better is to say no. Every week I get people saying, hey, have you ever thought about starting a job board for other countries? Yes, I have. Let's do it together. No, I'm not. I mean, for one, the Philippines is different than elsewhere. But two, there's so much work involved in that. And so anytime I evaluate a business opportunity, one of the things that I look at is who's going to do the work here. Is it me or is it someone else? Like, who's ultimately responsible for this thing that we're about to do? If we take customers or clients, do they want to talk to me in the end? Like, am I the ultimate reason they're paying, or is it because of something else? Can someone else do the work? And if it falls on me, I'm not going to do it. And that's been one of the things I've always looked at. Like, I will not sell time for money. I won't trade time for money. I won't do consulting. I won't do coaching. I won't build your website for you. So that's always been like, I learned to say no a long time ago, and that's a big deal.
Cool. Two answers. One is you can run a franchise system where you have to do nothing and the new country runs itself. We can talk separately about that. But I am much more curious about how you stay in balance, because that is so healthy and so sane. And most of us don't have that to say, okay, that's the point where I can say I'm happy with this balance and I will keep that and I will say no to everything else. Because from time to time, some shiny objects pop up, right? How do you keep on track?
I mean, I wish I had a great answer for you. So there's always work to be done. There's always work to be done. That work will be there tomorrow. It won't go away. But my kids will go away. And so every day I choose, when they get home from school, I choose to get off of my computer, whatever emails there are still to answer or whatever there is, I make the choice to get up and be there when they get home from school. And so usually that means that I'm done. I mean, I'm done working for the day because we're going to go on a bike ride or we're going to go do something. And so one of the guiding things in my life has always been there's a quote that no other success in life compensates for failure in the home. And to me, I don't want to fail at home. I want to be a dad. I want to be a good husband. I want to give my wife the time that she needs and deserves. And so I learned to delegate really well. Like there's this thing, I can do this. I can do this really well. If I do this, I'll do it better than someone else. But that's a lot of my time. And I'm going to get someone else to do it.
That's beautiful. And so much needed right now when people in COVID think, oh, I have to do more, I have to do more. Such a beautiful, sane and simple and clear and applicable message. Thank you so much for that. And please tell again, where should people go directly if they want to start outsourcing or do outsourcing better?
Yeah, so for the steps of what to do, onevaoa.com. The place to hire people is onlinejobs.ph. If you're just ready, like you know what you need, you know how to do it, you know how to hire. Onlinejobs.ph is the place that, and I own onlinejobs.ph, but that's where everybody goes. Like eventually everybody ends up on onlinejobs.ph, regardless of where you start trying to hire people. And then my book is available at outsourcinglever.com. If you want me, I am infinitely available through email. I will answer emails. I don't do phone calls. I don't do social media. If you contact me on social media, that's fine. It doesn't come to me. But every day my VAs, my OFS, online Filipino specialist, she sorts through the contact stuff on social media, and she responds to what she knows to respond to, and otherwise she sends it to me, and I will respond directly to you via email. I just find email is so fast. It allows me to continue to work my life, to live my lifestyle. So, or the contact us link at any of my websites. Obviously, it doesn't come to me, but if you say this is for John, it gets sent to me.
Thank you so much, John, for being on the show. This is so inspiring, and you have inspired me and I guess many here in our community to be better CEOs, better parents, better husbands, better lovers, better friends. Thank you so much, John. And please come back soon.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Avoid trying to do thousands of things that doesn't work. We have 274 templates for your business success. Reach your ambitious goals with one-on-one sprint coach. We double your revenue in 90 days.